Alright guys, so I ended up 3-marking the M41 90GF last night. I wanted to show you the replay where I did that. It wasn't anything spectacular. We were able to kind of have a lot of good games before this, and we got the mark up to a point where like it was pretty easy, right? I only needed like maybe 2,000 combined or something like that, because you know it's over um, like your last 100 battles. If you do really, really good, then as long as you're kind of being consistent, it's not like you need to get 2,500 combined every single game to get the mark at 2,500. Like if you do 4,500 before that, so you know it's all math. I'm not a big fan of math, but I can do simple math, right? But there's a really good video, by the way, that 13 Disciple has. I always like to mention this whenever I mark vehicles. Go to YouTube. If you guys don't know this guy, search 13 Disciple, and he has a really, really good video on exactly how 3-marking works, or just marking vehicles in general. You know that there's a term for it, but there's a reason why you can't just mark a vehicle in like one game, you know, because it has to kind of add up, right? Again, all math. But anyway, guys, M4190GF, I want to give you some recommendations on how to kind of play this vehicle, right? By the way, we're running it with CVS in the scouting slot, Bounty low noise exhaust, and Bounty optics for this particular map. But I also have vents, rammer, and I think VSTAP for a map like Abbey. Abbey is always the example I use. This tank, guys, okay? This tank. Here's the way you need to play this tank, okay? I would urge you guys to play it almost like a medium with no armor at first, but try and put yourself in positions where you can spot people like I just did, right? The DPM is very good on this vehicle for a light tank, okay? The damage per shot is good on this vehicle for a light tank. The HEs are exceptionally good on this vehicle for a light tank, right? You do 320 damage a shot, and it's 102 millimeters of penetration with the HEs, right? So here we are, we're probably going to lose this game, right? But I'm sitting here, and I just kind of want to show you guys this area. I'm spotting all these guys as they're coming in. Now, if we had TD sitting in the back, oh yeah, this would be fun, right? But people just aren't paying attention back here, so we have to run away. Is what it is. But use the heats, guys. The heats have 250 millimeters of pen. Okay, use the HEs. They have 102 millimeters of pen, and they do 320 damage a shot. By the way, this guy was being like racist and sexist. I don't know what the heck's going on over here. He said fags, he said Mexicans, he said whatever on the map. So I told him, find God. You could do this with XVM. You can draw on the map. I say, find God. Like, in other words, fix yourself, man. Fix yourself. So anyway, ignoring that, I'm going to come to this little bush and like knock down tree here. But the problem with being here is, like, I don't know if Progetto is just blind firing this or if someone behind me, probably he's blind firing, but then I get hit by, like, some other tank destroyer or something like that, and I think it's because the Kari was behind me. And so the guy is trying to hit the Kari. Yeah, it was the T-103, trying to hit the Kari. And so, like, I have to run away from here. I can't continue to sit here. I want to, even though, you know, I'm getting a little bit of spotting damage, but I have to run away from here because I'm going to get wrecked because these guys are directly behind me. So, and they're getting spotted. It's unfortunate, you know, when you're trying to passive scout. I actually was passive scouting with this thing because this thing is terrible at passive scouting. But yeah, we have to just run away from here and accept the defeat. But use the HE, guys, right? Use the HE, use the high heat shells, use the extremely high view range that this thing has. It has really good view range, but it lacks concealment, okay? It heavily lacks concealment. I think you can't even get it up to like 40% with Bounty low noise exhaust. So use all these things to your advantage, not your disadvantage, right? Okay, you have a cap that sticks way up. You can poke ridgelines and easily spot people, you know? One example I can think of is on El Haluf, right? On the, I think it's the southwestern spawn or whatever, depending on the map orientation. But you know how you can stay up on the hill on one side and kind of spot that valley? You just poke up. Extremely beneficial for a tank like this that has the cap up here, right? But it means you can't really brawl. And that was one of the reasons why it took me so long to mark this tank, is because I continued to try and put myself in situations where I'm trying to do other people's jobs by brawling On Empire's Border, I did it yesterday before I marked this thing. The heavies are behind me. The heavies and brawling TDs are literally behind me, and I'm at a rock trying to brawl people, and like, I need to stop doing this. I need to just accept a loss, right? But yeah, this tank has just been a very, very weird tank for me to mark because of all the things I just mentioned, right? And when we finally die here, I'll kind of explain in a little bit more detail. I'll ramble on a little bit because you guys know I like to do that. But we're going to get one more shot into the TVP here. Thank God the Borsk rams me. He did 116 damage there because we ended with 3004 combined. However, this is exactly what I needed for the moving average, which is the word that I couldn't think of earlier. Exactly what I needed for the moving average, because we ended not at 95.4. This is completely wrong. I don't know why. It was very off today and last couple of days. But this was at 95% exactly. 95.00%. Not 95.01. We ended with 95.00%. So we just marked this thing. You know, just marked it. Not even by 1/100th of a percent less than that. So it was incredible. Because like if this Borsk didn't ram me, we'd probably be at like 94.98 or 99 or something like that. But he did ram me. But I have no end plates for this, guys. I just want to re-emphasize to you what this tank has. Very high pen heat shells, very high pen HE shells, standard HE shells, very high view range. The mobility is not that great, right? The concealment is not good either, but it has a lot of view range. So if you can get into these areas where you can kind of just poke out and then get safe again, I'm telling you, you'll be spotted in areas where you think you won't be spotted in this vehicle. It's happened to me so many times because the tank just doesn't have the concealment, and the freaking cap is so big. You're in bushes, you think you're safe, but like the bush line ends like this, you know, and your little cap is sticking out, and the cap is like definitely one of those points that Wargaming has for like detecting view range, because you have it yourself, right? For like detecting if there's a tank there, I guess, or whatever. You guys know the game mechanics, you know, and you end up getting spotted, and you're like, why am I spotted here? Like the amount of times that I have literally looked at the screen and I'm like, why am I even spotted here? How am I even spotted here? Like, how am I spotted here? And you end up losing too much HP, or you die early. You completely die, right? And so like this tank, man, I'm telling you guys, like it has this weird mix of like having to play aggressively and having to play passively, and playing passively doesn't mean like sit in bushes, right? Like you can do that if you can get a lot of bushes, like ones that are tall enough, like kind of like this one. But it's just, this is a weird vehicle, man. It's supposed to be an active scout, but like active scouting in this game is just, it works on Prokhorovka. That's, you know, that's pretty much it. Active scouting in this game, man, is now poking up on ridge lines and spotting people and stuff like that. Like, active scouting just does not work in this game anymore when you have EBR 105s, EBR 90s, you know, even the Lynx running around at near highway speeds, right? Like, these things are just ridiculous, and their turning radius is ridiculous, and there's no active scouting in this game anymore. So, what you have to do with this vehicle is do damage. A lot of it, right? Because half of more than half, actually, of my mark is damage. So, I think I was averaging, when I finally 3-marked this thing, like 1420, 1430 damage a game, more than the Hawk 30, because it has really good DPM, right? So use the DPM, guys, and use the HE shells. If you get into an encounter with, say, a Batchat 12T or Borsk, or like one of these vehicles that has good burst damage, and they clip you, and there's no other threat to you, rush them and just ram them and spank them with the HE, right? Like, be aggressive when you can be aggressive, use the DPM, and then just be careful when you're spotting, right? You have to be really careful when you're spotting, because again, you're going to end up like Whirls, you're going to end up like me. How am I spotted here? How am I spotted here? Like, I keep doing this, like looking at the screen, like something's going to change if I yell at it and say, how am I spotted here? But that's the reality, man. That's the reality. Like, you have to play this thing carefully in some situations and aggressively in some situations, and you just have to play the vehicle a lot to understand like what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And it took me a little while, because this tank does have slightly a different playstyle than a lot of other light tanks, right? So try, you know, just to figure out where that line is of playing somewhat aggressively and playing passively. Be very, very careful again in bush lines, guys, because you have a really high cap here, and you don't have the concealment to obviously outspot even 90s, but even like Batchat 12Ts, LHM TVs, you know, whatever it is. You can't do it, right? So beat them in damage instead, right? Or active scout, you know, try and come over a ridgeline and come back down. Again, I say that really only works on proc, but yeah, that's what you have to do in this vehicle. It's a very, very aggressive light tank in terms of damage. So don't be afraid to use the high pen heats. Don't be afraid to use the high pen HEs. I know I said this like 100 times, guys, right? But this is what my channel is about. It's to help you. And that's what you have to do in this vehicle, okay? Do damage. Please do damage. Load the freaking HE and spank the crap out of people. Stay alive so that you can do that at the end game and you're a threat. And you have a lot of view range, right? But again, not a lot of concealment. So that's how you have to play it. The weird thing about this tank, one more thing that I wanted to note, is my win rate, I think, was like, I ended with like maybe 51% win rate. Yet my win 8 in this vehicle is higher than pretty much every light tank that I've played at this tier. And I think that's just because you have to do a lot of damage in this tank. At least that's the way I played it, right? Because more DPM than the Hawk 30, crazy DPM, high pen HEs, high pen heats. You guys getting the message here? Okay, I want you to understand what you need to do in this vehicle. I'm not saying camp in the back of the map and do damage. I'm saying do damage when you can do damage. Anytime you have the opportunity to do damage without receiving damage, do it, right? So no end plays for this one, guys. I hope this helps you out. We finally marked this thing. I still will probably play it though because it prints credits because of the HE shells. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I will catch you for the next one. Take care until then, and bye-bye now.